Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries. I'm your host, Christina Denstead. In this episode, we sit down with Hillary Linderman, the artist and entrepreneur behind Rabbits and Oaks, a brand rooted in the pride, beauty, and identity of the Conejo Valley. From her early dreams of becoming a writer to her professional path in copywriting, design, and ultimately handcrafted art, Hillary shares how nature, nostalgia, and community inspired her to build something truly meaningful. We dive into her creative process, the joys and challenges of growing a business while raising a family, and what it means to represent your hometown through heartfelt handmade work. If you enjoy this episode and find value in the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and rating. This helps more people find the podcast, and therefore each story can reach more folks in the Conejo Valley. Get ready to be inspired by the story of Rabbits and Oaks and the woman bringing Conejo Valley pride to life, one block print at a time. Hey, Hillary, welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, Christina. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, I am excited too. I am a huge fan of Rabbit and Oaks. As I've shared now several times on social,
You're so sweet.
your Conejo Valley hat is seriously one of my go-to articles of clothing now. Whether just walking around Thousand Oaks or at my kids' baseball games. And so I absolutely love what you're doing, and I cannot
Thank
wait
you.
to learn
Thank you.
more about
Thank you.
how you
Thank you.
got started. I will say one of the things too, and maybe we can talk about it now or later, but I love the hat on the back. It took me a minute to get the pun, but the Cooler Valley. How did
I,
you come up
I,
with that?
I appreciate that you appreciate the pun
Yes.
because you'll hear, but like I did go to school for copywriting. So like puns and things are like in my heart. So if I can like work in a pun or like a snappy slogan, it's a win-win for me. So I appreciate you. You got the double entendre there.
Yes, I really appreciated that. So, okay, well then let's go from here. So, what did you want to be when you grew up as a kid?
Um, gosh, well, early dolphin trainer for sure.
Okay, I haven't
Went
heard
to
that one
school,
yet.
went to elementary school, full wetsuit, everything. Then I realized, yeah, not a huge fan of the water. So that didn't stick around. But when I got serious about wanting to work, I always imagined doing something with like writing, something creative. I think for a long time I said like I wanted to work at a magazine,
Mm-hmm.
like a glossy magazine, back when magazines were like all we could think of and read along the pool and all that. So I kind of stuck with that and I went into like marketing and entertainment, writing, advertising, all that kind of stuff. So I did end up going a similar route, but not full writing, like journalism. I didn't go the journalism route.
Okay,
But
so
that's what I
and
did.
did you grow up out here in the Conejo
I
Valley?
did. So I
Okay,
did grow up in Calabasas. So I did grow up like in the Conejo Valley.
yeah.
And we were probably like one of the earlier families to move out to Calabasas. We came from North Hollywood. So we came from Valley Village. I was about 7 years old when we moved out here.
Okay.
And it was different and we loved it. And my parents are still in the same house, still down Parkway,
Oh
Calabasas.
my goodness.
Yeah.
It always is impressive to me when people are, in the same place for decades. So that's really cool.
I left and came back, but I'm happy to be back.
Yeah. Well, no, your
Yeah.
parents that are in their same
Oh yeah,
home.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So, tell me, was there a particular magazine that really attracted you back then?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna be like super cliche and probably say like, oh, what, like Cosmopolitan or something like that,
Yeah.
right? Like all the glossy fashion magazines, all the celebrity magazines. And then as I got older, like I got into like the cooking and the Real Simple and all those ones too. So I still have like a love of magazines.
I know, I think it's definitely a generational thing, but it is
Yeah.
really like it's such a to have that like tangible piece of literature, for lack of a better word, was
I
really cool. And
know,
it's surprising, it's hard to believe that that's not a thing at all. So
I
maybe,
know.
or there's a resurgence in it. Either way, I digress. So you went and studied, so you went to study like copywriting. Was it an advertising kind of
Yeah,
study path?
yeah, so I went to UC Santa Barbara, got my degree in communications, and then I also got like a minor in what they call professional writing. And I chose the copywriting, copy editing route. So there was like a few different business writings. So I chose copywriting and copy editing as like my specialty
Hmm.
and got internships in that, did some work in that. I got like my first real job in like TV entertainment copywriting pretty quickly out of college from a neighbor of my parents, really lovely man. Like I have him to thank for a lot. Got me in the door, let me kind of come in there and learn all about it. And I got to be on set of, TV commercials and stuff like that. And I got to write and dip my hands in like a million areas. And that's kind of where I got introduced to like the world of graphic design as well. And that's kind of takes me this way more into like the more creative design world.
So, yeah, at what point did you decide you wanted to, maybe let's take a step back. How would you describe Rabbit and Oaks?
Well, I guess Rabbits and Oaks is just a way for the people in our area to like wear the pride that I know that I feel, I know that they feel about like this community. Whether it's like the nature around us or the people around us or the feeling you get like when you drive into this place, like there's something tangible and like physical that happens to your body, like this breath that comes in your body like as soon as you drive over those hills. And like I saw you posted on your Instagram this picture of the neon hills,
Yeah.
and I was just driving past Calabasas today, and the mustard is, I mean, it is so gorgeous.
It's really vibrant
It
right now.
takes
I
your
know.
breath away.
Yeah.
And people like we did our time living like on the west side of LA. And when you come out here, it's just such a different world, yet so close. I felt like this is a really special place. I know people feel that way. Let's make something so we can wear that pride and celebrate that pride because it didn't exist, I guess. So that was my goal.
And so I love that because that's like the core, your mission of like what the why behind it. What
Yeah.
about the approach to, was it always a creative execution in terms of like a tangible item, or did it start off as something else?
I've always like loved art. I was never like athletic. I didn't do a lot of sports. I tried my hand at everything, quit it all. But I
Ditto. Yeah.
always stuck to art. It was always like my go-to and always a source of like relief for me. Any job I had where I didn't feel like I got to be super creative, I would always just like do art on the side or, you know, seek it out in some way because I feel like that's like what kind of fulfills me, art and writing. So when I started this, just started by going to make my own hat. That's how it started. I went to make a hat for myself and I was like, I want an Agoura hat. I don't want an LA hat, I don't want a Brooklyn hat. I want an Agoura hat. And I went to CVS and I was like, maybe they have something. And they did not have anything. And I was like, I can do this. I do design, this is definitely within my wheelhouse. So I like sketched out a little outline of lady face, went into my Adobe programs, made a little Agoura logo, and then I went to show a couple of friends. I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna make a hat, just a one off. And they were like, oh, wait, will you get me one too? I want one. I want one. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something here. Other people feel this way. This community is amazing. Maybe I should explore this. So it started with the hat, and then it has expanded to me, you know, uh, looking around me and seeing all the different inspirations and all the different landmarks and hearing what other people find special about this place. And it's been really, really fun.
So did Rabbits and Oaks happen before, or before you moved back here, or were you still living in West LA when you?
No, it actually, I guess it was like just post pandemic.
Okay.
So we were back here. We moved from West LA to Agoura in 2017, ready to like put down roots. Got very lucky, found like the perfect home in a lovely neighborhood. And then I had my son in 2018, and then I had my daughter in 2020, which
Mhm.
was like smack dab. She was September 2020. So it was like the heat of the pandemic. I was pregnant and like basically locked the door and like don't come near us.
I can only imagine
Oh
what that
man,
was like.
it was a wild time, right?
Yeah.
So, but during that time, like I had a lot of free time, right? Like we all did. So, of course, like I delved into a safe space for me, which is, of course, art. So I
Mhm.
took up block printing, and that became like a new interest of mine and watercolors and kind of put my mind into that to try to like relieve the stress that was happening around for all of us.
So tell me
And
about the
yeah,
block printing, because that is such a unique art form, and it's really, I mean, people can see if they're watching on Spotify or YouTube that gorgeous like print in the and behind your head, and it's like,
yeah.
tell me what drew you to that, and what is it exactly?
So block printing is basically, it's also called like lino cut printing. The original form I think most people are familiar with is like wood prints or wood carvings. Maybe one day I will get there. I'm not quite there yet. But basically, you're using wood, or in my case, I use linoleum, and I sketch something out first, and then I transfer it to the linoleum block, and then I carve out the negative space. And you're left with basically, like I tell, like when I'm talking to kids about it, like you're making a giant rubber stamp or a tiny rubber stamp, depending on like what you're carving. So I just think it's, I have an original woodblock print that my parents passed down to me of an owl. And it was like one of those things that I looked at in my parents' house and I always loved it. And my mom said, like, when you move into your first home, this will be yours. So it is mine and it is in my hallway. And I just think it's incredible. It's everything is, it has to be hand done. It has to be hand pressed. And that's what makes it so unique. And not one is like the other because you never know how your ink will take. So I think there's something in that uniqueness when, especially like now, everything is so massively produced.
Yeah.
I like the small side of it, the small aspect of it.
Yeah, it's really special and gorgeous, and I can imagine people handing the prints that you make now down to
Oh, that's
future
very sweet.
generations. Yeah, so tell me, where do you get your inspiration from? Your first hat is just to represent Agoura,
Yeah,
and which I appreciate. But then, how did you find yourself doing these more intricate drawings, and
yeah.
where do you feel most passionate if you have a space within that?
You know, I feel like in an area like this, it's not very hard to find inspiration in our surroundings. There's just like so much beauty here. I've always been a fan of like botanicals as far as art goes, botanical prints and, nature and leaves and birds and all that stuff. So I think like my first jump into more intricate stuff was I had this idea of doing like this Birds of Conejo series.
Mm.
So I went on and I was like, okay, well, hawks, obviously, and there's like a particular sparrow we see here, and quail. And I was like, I'm going to carve these three birds and make like a series. And that was kind of like my first dive into something like very specific to the area still. So it was like on, the same wavelength as rabbits and oaks. Like this is people in this area particularly will see this and like relate to it and find like connection with these birds because we see them every day. So that's how it kind of started, and I've just been, looking around ever since. And I know what makes this place special. I grew up in these hills in the Santa Monica Mountains, and it's really fun to like put that in onto paper, onto linoleum, or into a graphic. So yeah.
W Were you when you first started Rabbit and Oaks, you said, after the pandemic, so is that 2021, 2022?
I didn't start until 2023,
Okay.
actually. So this is like my second, past my second full year.
Okay.
And like I said, like it started with this hat, and it was probably in like the late summer. I was in this really lovely group of women. This comes back to the community again. Like my neighborhood is spectacular. The women I have in my life are spectacular. Um, and we were in like kind of like a women's like mentorship group where we all kind of supported each other and like encouraged each other to like find passions, and we're all like moms. So that's like the other thing is like I have two small kids, and I was looking for ways to like, find joy in passions that I haven't been able to like really take a hold of in a while because I
Mhm.
am a full-time mom.
Yeah.
So we were sitting around and I was telling them about this idea and about the hat, and they were super encouraging. And one of my friends like piped up and she was like, there's like a boutique at my kid's elementary school for the holidays. Do you want to get a table? I'm going to have a table because she was a small business. She was a small business owner as well. She's like, I'll share the table with you. We can like split the cost and it's not so like scary for you, and you'll come and we'll see what happens. So I was like, okay, perfect. I have a deadline. I have a goal. Let's do this, So I started small, just a few items, a few prints. And the reception was so like wonderful and uplifting, and I did really well. And so that was 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I went right into like the holiday season. I just kept going, and it's kind of just organically grown since then.
And it seems like your sort of business model, if you will, you have the direct to consumer on your website, but you're still very actively at fairs and festivals around the city. At least that's what I see from
Yeah.
your from your Instagram. Is
Yeah.
that do you like doing that? Do you find that that's a, a a good way to sell product or at least connect with the community?
Yeah, I think that that's a good question. And I definitely like, as any small business owner, you kind of go back and forth as to like what the best way is. And I really try to make like very like conservative financial choices with the business. And the market thing is really fun for me. And I actually like love doing it. And I love talking to people. There was a time in my career where I used to work really big trade shows. And I never thought that would ever like tie back into my life, but man, it really has helped me out with this because I can make a conversation with just about anybody and make them like try to make them feel comfortable. So
Right.
um, that has been really fun for me. And it, again, it's like a really nice way to meet people, to get your name out there. It doesn't always connect to like a ton of sales, depending on where you are and like what the foot traffic is and all that. But it always sparks some sort of connection, like whether it's meeting someone who says, hey, like I have an opportunity for you down the line, or it's every single time I've left thinking like, wow, if I hadn't gone to that, I wouldn't have met so and so, and then I wouldn't have this have happened. So there are definitely like really good like personal connections made at those that I wouldn't be able to make over social media or Instagram advertising or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm really impressed because not only is it you putting yourself out there, but you're really representing the business and the Conejo Valley, which is really amazing. And have you found that there are a lot of makers out here?
Yeah, there are. There's, I mean, I think that's what's really cool about it though, is when you go to those markets, you meet people and they are so creative and it's really inspiring how dedicated they are to it. And you learn things from them, different little hacks for their setups and things like that. And man, I had actually at the one that you came to, like a big gust of wind came and like one of my whole things went flying down and there was broken glass. And I swear, like half the vendors ran over to help and they were offering all sorts of things to help me get back on my feet. And I was just like, here we go again. Like this is community.
Yeah,
This is this place.
that's really kind.
Yeah.
So tell me about the different items that you're currently creating. So you have the prints, and right
Mhm.
now it's whether animals or types of nature, and
Yeah.
then you're still doing hats, obviously.
Yeah.
And what else are you making?
I do like a few accessories. I have, mugs and tumblers. I always say like everything has like some different type of artwork that I've done on it. It's either like hand drawn illustrations or watercolors or block printing, or graphic design, or sometimes it's like a large combination of all those things.
Yeah.
So I've got tumblers, I've got mugs, hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts. What else do I have? Art prints. Think that basic stickers.
Have you noticed it's interesting. When I've worn the Conejo Valley hat, I had one mom at my kid's school tell me, "Hey, thanks for wearing that. I'm from here originally, and to like see you showing the pride means a lot." And I'm wondering if you've experienced that. Not only if you hear people, I imagine, share that with you, but if you've noticed a difference over the past 2 years of more people wanting to be representing, or do you think that that's is that changing in some way?
Yeah, I definitely see it. I love there's two different like pride groups about the people who live here. They're both really special, but like one is like the empty nester adults who have raised their families here. They built their life here and now their kids are either somewhere else in college or maybe they've settled on the East Coast or something, who knows,
Yeah.
but they know that they're when their kids come home like how happy they are to be home. So I get a lot of like empty nesters sending these kinds of things back to their kids
I
or
love that.
surprising them with these things when they come home so that when they do go back they can have like a Conejo Valley sweatshirt or a hat, or like I just framed like three art prints for someone who's sending it to three kids in all over the country. One's in Hawaii, and she's like, I just want them to have like Ladyface Mountain on their walls. So when they look at it, they remember home.
Gives me
So
chills. That's such a sweet gift idea. I
it's
love it.
really, really sweet. And that
Yeah.
like means so much to me. Like, even though these people are not here anymore, this place still recalls like the warmth and like, um, like closeness that we have here.
Yeah.
And then there's also like the people who have settled here with and are growing families like myself and like you. And it's kind of like this new pride of this is where we are. It's like school pride, but it's like community pride, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of want to rep it when you're out and about. And I think that's really cool. I've had some young people who've just like bought their first house here, and the dads come over and they'll see like a trucker, one of my trucker hats, and they'll be like, I really need to rep Agoura Hills right now. Like, I need this hat. I'll wear this every day. Super happy.
Yeah, that's great. That's interesting to see both sides of it, but I can understand the spectrum, the generational differences
Yeah.
on how they approach it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite piece of yours?
Hmm. That's a hard question. I feel like every time I do something new, it's like, oh wow, like I haven't done this before and this is really cool. I just did like a mountain lion, which I actually don't have on my website yet, but it's at Cornell Wine Company in person there, and I'll put it up on the website.
Yeah.
Uh, and I thought that was pretty spectacular, especially with the Annenberg Bridge.
I was gonna say there's
Yeah,
sounds like a partnership in that.
yeah. Here's hoping. I know.
Yeah, seriously, that would
So,
make a lot of
like
sense.
that I was like, this is, I kind of have this idea of like, protect the locals kind of idea, and making the locals our special animals that we try to like protect and, we value here in our area. So that guy, that little mountain lion of mine, I'm pretty proud of him.
And now is the Cornell Wine Company, is that your first retail space that you're involved with?
It's my second. I did have like a little holiday pop-up retail space at the Frame Gallery in Agoura Hills over the holidays. But Cornell is like my second one, and it's a really good fit. When I started this business, I went there with some girlfriends one night. I'm like, this is where Rabbits and Oaks needs to be. Like, this is what I want. This is where I want it to be.
Yeah.
Everything about that place, the vibe, the history, the old place, the mountains. It's the aesthetic, like in the physical. So I was really, really thrilled when that partnership worked out.
That's great.
Yeah.
What has, surprised you so far in running your business over the past 2 years?
Hmm. Um, I guess that sometimes there are lulls, right? And like, I'm going to bring this back to being like a stay at home mom. This is not my first priority right now. One day it would be wonderful if it was, but my kids are my first priority right now. I, take them to school, pick them up, all the activities, extracurriculars. I also run and co own another small business, which is a Parent and Me program. And we teach toddlers and babies. It's like a mommy and me. And I've been doing that for like over 4 years now. So that's like
What's
my
its
second.
name? You can shout it out. You 2
Yeah.
business owner.
Pitter Patter Play, we teach in Oak Park. I've
Okay.
been doing that with my business partner, Christina, since the pandemic. That was born like in the pandemic.
Got it.
And so then Rabbits and Oaks came along, and this has been my third priority. So there are times of the year where I am like really busy with the other two priorities, and this one kind of has to take a back seat.
Mm,
But then once I jump back into it, it's kind of surprises me like how, I don't know, like that the inspiration comes fast and there's more to do, and that the response is still there,
mhm.
and the excitement isn't like wavering, it's growing. So I've like made kind of a conscious decision lately that I'm going to like kind of reprioritize things and really put more effort and time into Rabbits and Oaks, just because my passion is really strong in it, and I love it. I want to see it grow.
Yeah. So tell me, since you have 2 small businesses, did you always have an entrepreneurial bug, or where do you think that came from?
Yeah, I guess I have. My familial history is pretty cool when it comes to that. I come from like a pretty long line of entrepreneurs, and very like creative people. My grandmother was super creative. She was like a seamstress by trade. But then when she was in her 40s, which I think is spectacular, so like the early 70s, she started a handbag business. And she just did it the same way I did. She started making a handbag for herself because she hated what was available. And she was like, I need more pockets. I need pockets, pockets, pockets. So I'm going to make my own bag with lots of pockets.
Okay.
And it took off. And she grew it and ran it and had a factory and sold, worldwide until she retired in her like late 70s.
Wow.
So I grew up seeing her do that. My mom ended up taking it over. My dad works for himself. He's an entrepreneur as well. My husband, my brother as well.
Oh my goodness, so it was in your blood, you couldn't
I guess
avoid it.
so. Yeah. When I was at Cornell, setting up my little, merchandising my little corner there, I left and I just had this like overwhelming feeling. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is how Nana felt. This is how my grandmother felt, like
Yeah.
setting up her retail corners in these shoe stores and in these handbag stores. And I just like had a kind of like a moment of connection. She's passed, about 10 years or so ago. But it was really, I felt really proud to like be able to connect with her that way now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did your parents or husband give you any advice about being an entrepreneur before you stepped out to do it? And maybe I always live to know, did you have a business plan before? Was that something that they encouraged or
My husband is a business owner. He owns a social service agency. So like a very different business, but like a big business. And he's a very like by the books. Like, he runs the company, he runs it all, he does it all. So he always helps me with like the financial side of it because that's not where my brain works.
yeah,
So I do, I like go to him and ask him about, profit loss and, scaling and all those kinds of things. And he is really, really smart and really good with that stuff. So I'm really happy I get to like lean on him for that. And then when it comes to creative stuff, like my mom is so creative. She's really talented. So I always bounce ideas off of her. And it's been really nice. It's nice to work with, people who support you and love you and believe in what you're doing.
yeah. What's been the biggest challenge?
Um, I guess growth is hard, and really it's pretty specific to what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It's just that I'm on a small scale, and because I sell apparel and those kinds of like tactile items, I don't order a ton. So I do small runs, which I think is kind of cool. That way, people can have like a different types of items.
Yeah.
It's so hyper local,
Limited
right?
edition?
Yeah, exactly. So everything is kind of like this limited edition idea.
Yeah,
And because of that, there's the profit margins can be more challenging and tighter. So I'm still trying to figure all that out. The retail stuff is really cool, getting it into a store because then it's selling and it's not, while I'm there with it.
yeah,
So that's exciting. But yeah, I think that just figuring out like how to make it work and how to profit from it.
yeah. What are you most proud of?
Gosh, I'm really proud when I like pull up in the pickup line and I see like someone get out of their car like wearing an Agora Hill sweatshirt. Or I'm walking around somewhere and someone, I see, oh my gosh, like that's dude, like that's my t-shirt. Like they're wearing my t-shirt. That's so cool.
Out in the world.
Out in the world, yeah.
Yeah,
And just the feedback I get. And I think I'm really proud of putting the art out there. It's one thing to like, put lettering on a sweatshirt and stuff like that. It's another to like hand create something and then have someone say like, yes, like I want to frame this and I want to have it in my home. That feels like particularly special.
yeah, it's very intimate. It's
It
a
is.
personal, intimate thing, and to be able to, like, pass that on to others and have them
Yeah.
appreciate it must feel really good.
It does. Yeah. There's this like sweet little moment I had. I was at the Ladyface Film Festival, which I got to partner on, which was very fun. And there was a woman there who was looking at a hawk print of mine. And she was just like staring at it. And she looked like really like kind of, I don't know. I was like, oh, is everything okay? And she just told me this story. She was an older woman. And she told me the story about how her husband passed a few years ago and that his favorite birds were hawks and that just like the last weekend her and her adult children were having brunch outside in their backyard and a hawk was just circling their backyard And she was like, and I think like it was him visiting us. And I was like, this is so sweet, right? So I was
Yeah.
like, I want you to have this. Like,
Mhm.
just take this print. Like, and she's like, how much is? I'm like, I'm not going to charge you. Like, you were meant to have this. You're meant
Yeah.
to be here, and you're meant to have this. So she took it. We had like a moment. She was like, teary. It was so sweet and so genuine and so authentic. And then she sent me a picture. She like found my email on my website. And this is like an older woman. So I was
Yeah.
like very impressed that she was able
Yeah.
to like hunt it down. And she took a picture of it on their mantle and like sent me this like letter of appreciation. And it's that stuff. That's the stuff that makes me feel connected and wanting to keep doing this.
That's incredible. I love that story,
Oh,
and
thank you.
I love the hawks too, and I feel like there is some kind of good omen. I always, one once landed on my pool gate, and I was like, "This is wild. I don't know what
They're
this
big.
means,
Like when
but
they're
I'll
that
take
close,
it."
you're like, this is a large bird.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me about this, collaboration with the Ladyface Film Festival.
Oh yeah, so a dear friend of ours, Joe Litzinger, he's also a neighbor. Again, this is the community thing, right? We live in this place with amazing, smart, talented individuals. He's a producer he does independent films, and he had the idea of creating a film festival for the area. And he's been a supporter of Rabbit Oaks since day one. And he was like, I would love you to design the poster, and can you design merch for it? And I was
Great.
just thrilled. So it was a really great thing for the city of Agoura Hills. And I think they're going to be working on it again. So for the next year.
Fantastic. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was really fun.
So what's your vision for Rabbits and Oaks?
That's a good question. I've had that question before. I feel like I wish I had like the perfect answer for it, like the perfect response. I guess I just you know when like you go somewhere on vacation and you like say like have this like moment, you're like, oh, this was so nice, I want to bring something home, right? I want to bring back a souvenir, a novelty item. So you go to the gift shop and you get a hat or you get a sticker or whatever, and then you bring it home, and then like you have it and you look at it, and every time you put it on or you see it, it gives you like this like warm memory. Like, I guess I just want that to like always exist here. I
Mhm.
want people to visit here and take that with them, because right now they can't. And I want people who live here to have that and wear that or put it on their walls and continue to feel that connection. Just because it it's really special to live in this place and have this small town feel. Even though it's not necessarily like a small town like you think of, in the movies and all that, but the fact that you go somewhere and how many people do you see, right? Like so many people. You know everybody, everyone knows you, everyone's looking out for each other. I just feel like I'm taking that feeling and I just want to continue putting it into art, and make it last, I guess. I feel like that everlasting feeling of community. Yeah.
What do you think makes Conejo Valley so special?
Hmm. Like my first response is the people. I think there's a very like wonderful group of people who land here. I think that it's the wide open spaces. I think that it brings everyone back to nature. And instead of, I mean, just my street alone, when we moved here, I was like, wow, like the kids are outside playing. They are playing basketball. They are riding bikes. Like the kids on my street are growing up the way I grew up, almost like 40 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the way it is everywhere, but when I lived in the city, it wasn't. So I think there's something special about being outside, being with your community, counting on your neighbors. And I think that that's ingrained in this community here, leaning on each other and being together.
I love that. Okay, I have 3 quick fire questions for you.
Okay. Oh God. Okay. Bring it on.
The first one, you can take some time to answer because it might require you to think a little bit. But I'm curious, you had this collaboration with the Ladyface Film Festival. Maybe there's out there in the world the Annenberg Wildlife Crossing partnership. Do you
Yeah.
have a dream local partnership in mind?
Oof. I love doing this stuff for the city of Agoura Hills. I do their holiday markets and things like that. Definitely something with the Annenberg Wildlife Bridge would be amazing. I know it's within my reach. Just got to do it, right? Just got to make the call. Just like do it. And I would love for something to also kick back. Like I really love when something that's made can also give back to the community. So that's also something I always want to do. So some sort of partnership and helping the Santa Monica Mountains, something like that, because that is what makes this place so special. So some sort of partnership that gives back to the community would be, really awesome.
Okay. And I know you live in Agoura, so a lot of your items are focused on there, but are you considering expanding to the other cities in the Conejo Valley in terms of name checking us on the hats
I
or
know.
shirts?
It's hard. It's hard. It comes back to that small run thing. Uh, Obviously, if I expand enough, I would love to have a hat for all the cities, a Westlake Village, an Oak Park, a Thousand Oaks. There's not that many,
Right.
but so right now I have like my buckets. I've got Agora Hills, which is like the original idea, and then the broader Conejo Valley,
Yeah.
which kind of it fits. It's a shoe that fits everybody.
Yeah.
But I would love to do that because people do come to my markets and they say, "Oh, do you have Westlake Village? Do you have, Thousand Oaks?" And I do have prints for those specific places. And I always say, like, all my prints are handmade. So if something says Agora Hills and you want it to say Westlake Village, like, just shout out. I'll update it for you. I make it all, so I can definitely customize those things.
Cool. Okay. Well, as long as it's on some sort of roadmap, because I would love, I love representing the Conejo Valley, but also, wouldn't mind a Thousand Oaks
I
version of
All right, all right. I
whatever.
got you, Christine. I got you.
What's your favorite thing to do out in the Conejo Valley?
Mm. Well, I've got littles, so we spend a lot of time in our parks. I feel like I remember during COVID, it was such a crazy time, right? But and even after like things started to lift, that like we went on like a park tour. Just like there's so many amazing playgrounds and parks. It is you could go to like a new one every day and still never have seen them all. So I feel like that's pretty special. We spend a lot of time out walking around Peter Strauss Ranch, over at the old place, looking at the peacocks. That's one of our favorite things to do. And we go to the local beaches quite a bit. Leo Carrillo is a favorite of ours. My kiddos love tide pooling and things like that. So it's just a lot. And we hang out with friends and we backyard barbecues and, kind of like that life, that suburban life, to be
Yes.
honest, is here and it's pretty special.
Amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
my last question for you is, what piece of advice would you offer to first-time entrepreneurs?
Oh gosh. I guess just go for it. I mean, it's so hard. And I, even like coming onto this podcast with you, like I had those like waves of like imposter syndrome, right? And I feel like it is real, especially as like a mom who's not been in a working career for a while. Like jumping back into it can feel a little overwhelming, and you have that like imposter syndrome. But to like put it aside, listen to the people rallying around you, um, and just try. You don't regret trying, right? But we do regret not trying. So I guess that's it.
Perfect. I love it. And you are doing it. You've got your very own prints hanging behind you. You're putting things that you care about out in the world and making a creative impact on the Conejo Valley. So kudos to what you've been
Thank
able
you.
to
That's so
accomplish
kind.
so
Thank you.
far. And
Thank you.
can't wait to see how it continues to grow. So,
Oh, thank you, Christina. I appreciate it. And thank you for shedding light on all this area, these businesses, and rocking your merch. I appreciate it.
of course. Well, thank you, Hillary. Thank you for listening to Conejo Valley Visionaries. If you like today's episode, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And don't forget to rate and review us. That's the best way to support the podcast. To enter our giveaways, learn about local events, and to find out more about each guest, follow at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us an email. We are always open to guest nominations. Email ConejoValleyVisionaries@gmail.com. This episode was produced by Christina Denstead and Justin K. Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin K. Sloan and J. Sloan Productions.